Greetings, my name is Kerry and welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you my TBR for the Christmas Readathon, which I'm hosting. It's my annual low-key Christmas themed readathon, which runs from the 17th to the 31st of December every year. I will link the full announcement video in the description box for you in case you haven't seen that yet. But it's just a very chilled, relaxed readathon. I always say that the prompts are entirely optional. Feel free to ignore any that don't apply or twist them to fit your TBR that you actually want to read. I know a few people have done that this year because I was quite late posting the announcement. I'm just going to go through today some of what I'm thinking about reading. I'm definitely a mood reader and I am looking forward to having a bit of time off over Christmas. So this is a very loose TBR. I've actually picked 2 books for each prompt because I'm so indecisive. But also a number of the books that I've picked work for multiple prompts. So whether I'll actually, well, I think I will read almost entirely from this stack, but whether they will actually be for the prompts that I'm going to say they're for now, by the time we get to it, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to go through the prompts and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to read for them. Part of the problem is I've been trying to balance a number of different things in this TBR. So I've got a lot of library books that are due back soon, some of which I've renewed as many times as I'm allowed to. So I've got them. I've also got a few books that were for challenges that I haven't got around to yet. So I had 2 year-long challenges, which were a number of series I wanted to finish and a number of books that have been on my TBR for a really long time. So I've got a couple of books for that. I'm also trying to focus on my goal of reading more authors of colour. So I've got quite a lot of books that I might read from for that. And then I've also got, I think it's just one actually, review book so that I can try and get ahead of my reviews for January. Anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to get into the list. So the first prompt was Cracker, which is a surprising book or a book that has a twist. So my first option for this is called The Key in the Lock. I think the author is Beth Underdown. This is a book I have from NetGalley. It's released in January, so I'm trying to read it and review it before it comes out because that's one of my goals for next year, is to try and actually have reviews up live the week the book is released. How well I'll actually do with that, we don't know. But anyway, in an attempt to try and get ahead of myself a little bit, I'm hoping to try and read this one. So this is, I think it's a historical mystery. I don't really remember why I requested it. I'm going to put a picture up of the cover. I think the cover is quite pretty and historical mystery kind of style books generally appeal to me. I think it's historical. It's definitely a mystery. Anyway, so something about the description made me request it, but the difficulty I have in NetGalley is that there's often a long time between requesting things and getting approved for them. But yeah, this one definitely intrigued me. The other option I have for this, which I will be reading either at the end of December or the beginning of January anyway, so it makes sense to try and fit it in, and again will fit several prompts, is Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman, which is the second book in the Arc of the Scythe trilogy. I'm taking part in the read-along for this with the Last to Read book club, and this is the December book, so the live show for this is at the beginning of January. I think it's the second weekend in January, so that it's not on a holiday weekend. So I really enjoyed the first book but found it constantly surprising. I had no idea what was going to happen. It was really unpredictable. So I think this book will have a lot of surprises and a lot of twists in it as well, if the first book is anything to go by. So those are my 2 options for the first prompt. The next prompt is Tree, and that is to read a book featuring nature or a book that is set outside. So the 2 that I'm choosing from for this, I've got a book called The Bloodprint by Ausma Zehenat Khan. So I'm borrowing this book from my friend Penny. It's got, as you can see, like a flowering vine on the cover, and it seems to be about kind of an elemental magic. There's a patriarchal culture that is oppressing the people, and then there's an uprising of rebels who have an ancient magic, and it seems to be set kind of in the desert. They go on a long journey, so I'm assuming that there are a lot of quite nature-y elements to this, especially from the cover. So for me, that hopefully will meet the prompt, or it's close enough that I'm going to count it. The other option I picked for this is another one I have out from the library. This is The Water Dancer by Ta-Nahisi Coates. I've had this out for a little while. I read some of his non-fiction last year, so I've been meaning to pick this up. And this again contains kind of elemental magic, but this time focused around water. Water is an important element of nature, so I'm not entirely sure this one does entirely fit the prompt, but we'll see. It's set during the time of slavery. The main character was born into slavery in Virginia in America. So again, I think quite a lot of it would be happening outside, but I don't definitely know, but I do really want to read this. So that is my other option for prompt number 2. Prompt number 3 is Tree Topper, and it is read a book from the top of your TBR. Now basically every book that I'm going to talk about today could meet this prompt, and maybe this will just turn into a readathon of me reading all the things that are at the top of my TBR. But the 2 specifically that I'm choosing from for this prompt, the first one is called 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. This is a retelling of the Siege of Troy from the perspective of, I think, of a woman living in the city. I've had this out from the library for ages and I can't renew it again. It's also kind of fits into some of the background reading that I'm doing that's associated in my research, which is primarily I'm looking at romance fiction, but the type of romance fiction I'm looking at, which is evangelical romances, the ones that I'm researching are set in biblical times. So I'm trying to find parallels in other literature, and this is a retelling of a Greek myth. It's kind of the closest I can get in terms of era. I haven't heard very much about this actually. I haven't heard people talking about it. I do need to read it before taking it back to the library. So I'm going to try and get to that. I think I could probably get away with it as being a sparkly cover. So that's one option for that. And then the other one is one that's on my December TBR anyway. It's also on the list of oldest books on my TBR. So this is Secret She Left Behind by Diane Chamberlain. So I do need to read this in December anyway because it's on my December TBR. It works for this prompt. I think it probably also works for a book with twists as well, as it's a sequel, and the first book again was quite twisty. So this is my other option for prompt number 3. Prompt number 4 is Star, which is a sci-fi or speculative fiction book. My first option for this is The Raven Stratagem. Again, this is already on my December TBR, so I will be reading it in December anyway. I think it also probably has a lot of twists and turns in it. Also very close to the top of my TBR. So this is another one that will work for multiple prompts. This is a sequel to Nine Fox Gambit, which I read a couple of months ago for Space Sirens, and I've been really keen to get to this one. So this is definitely science fiction, quite weird science fiction, and I'm really looking forward to carrying on this series. My other option for this one is another book I'm borrowing from my friend Penny, which is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I just really enjoyed I've only read one N.K. Jemisin so far, but I really enjoyed it, so my friend lent me this one. The concept sounds really good, so yeah, this is one I'd like to get to, but probably out of all of these is not quite as high priority for me, but I mean, I've been borrowing it from my friend and would like to be able to give it back to her soon. Yeah, might try and get to this one. The next prompt is Candy Canes, which is to read a sweet or cozy book. My first choice for this one is From Twinkle with Love by Sandhya and Menon. So I got this one out from the library. I've read the first 2 books in the Dimple and Rishi verse, and I actually have the third one out from the library as well, but I wanted to pick up one not from that series next as my next book from her. This is again trying to read a bit around the research I'm doing, so I'm trying to read some other romance fiction. This is contemporary romance, but Sandhya Menon often writes, well, she's Indian American and often includes some Hindu religious themes in her books. I know particularly when Dimple met Rishi had some elements of influence of Hindu culture in there. It's another good parallel for the research I'm doing, which is why I wanted to pick up more books by her initially, but I also really enjoy her writing style and think she's a really good writer of YA romances, so really keen to read more from her. The books are just cozy feel-good books and would be a nice contrast to some of the more serious stuff I've got on the list, so this is one I'm most likely to read for that. But the other option is one that I'm also really excited for. Not quite the same genre, it's The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This was one of my most anticipated books of this year. I had it on pre-order because I was so excited to read it, and I reread the rest of the Wayfarers series in anticipation, but I I just have been putting it off because I don't want the series to be over, and I know when I read this it will be. But this was on my series I want to finish this year list. Yeah, I really do want to read it, but I also don't. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. So I thought if I put it on this TBR, it might give me that little push to read it. Also counts for science fiction, also counts for top of my TBR, also probably could say it's a bit of a sparkly cover. Don't know. Anyway, so that's my other option for a sweet or cozy book, just because of the feel-good feelings I get from reading Becky Chambers makes that work for this prompt. And then the final prompt that I need to pick a book for is Tinsel, which is a book with a glittery or sparkly cover. For this one, the one I'm most likely to read is our optional group book, which is Stay Another Day by Juno Dawson. This has a very sparkly cover. I've read another book by Juno Dawson and really enjoyed it, so when I heard this was coming out in time for Christmas, I thought it was a great option to pick for a group book for the Christmas readathon. This is the first time I've done a group book actually, so I'd be interested to see how many people actually do pick it up. It's another one that sounds like it's got quite a lot of twists and turns in it. It's a family story set around Christmas and just sounds like it could be really fun. I've been seeing some really great reviews come through on Twitter for it, so really looking forward to picking this one up. And I definitely will be reading this one anyway before Christmas, because just for the Christmassy vibes. And then I probably will read this one anyway, but it might not end up using it for that prompt, might end up using it for a different prompt. So this is Miss Marley by Vanessa Lafaye. I heard about this book last Christmas but couldn't quite get a copy of it in time to read, so I requested it from my library this year. It's only a novella actually, it's quite short. It's a prequel to A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. It's Vanessa Lafaye's take on what might have happened to lead up to that story, focusing on the sister of Jacob Marley, who was Scrooge's business partner. So I'm really excited to read this. I probably will read this anyway. May not end up counting towards a prompt, but it's another nice Christmassy read to get me in the Christmas spirit. And then the final prompt, which I don't need to pick a book for, is gift, and it's Yollabok Flod, and that is to buy someone a book for Christmas and to spend some of Christmas Eve reading. I took part in a Secret Santa with Space Sirens again this year, and so I've sent one of my Space Sirens friends, I'm not going to tell you which one, a book for Christmas, and looking forward to receiving a parcel myself, which I've seen as shipped. Thanks Elfster. We used Elfster this year and it was a lot less hassle for me organising it. Yeah, and I've got a nice big stack of books here to get through on Christmas Eve, so that is fun. I'm looking forward to spending some of Christmas Eve reading. I'm heading to my parents just after the readathon starts actually for about 10 days, and just looking forward to having some time off from studying and just chilling out and doing some Christmassy things with them, and hopefully doing a lot of reading for fun instead of for study. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. Let me know if you're planning to take part in the Christmas readathon and some of what you might be planning to read for it. You can also follow the Christmas readathon Twitter, where I'll be posting quite infrequently because I'll be on Christmas holidays, but I'll still be trying to interact a little bit on there, and so if you share your TBR on there, I will retweet it for you. So have a chat to me down in the comments about anything Christmas related. Let me know some of your Christmas plans maybe, or if you just want to let me know you've been here. I know we did this for the announcement video as well, but you can leave me a Christmas emoji because it's a Christmas readathon and it's the only time of the year we can do Christmas emojis. So leave me a Christmas emoji down in the comments just to let me know you've been here. You can also like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you'd like to hear more from me, and you can also follow me on my social media. All that information is listed for you in the description box below. But that's it for today, so thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!